All right. Hey, while we're waiting for a couple more to jump in, if they do, I know we've got some new faces for some of you guys in here, so it's always good to let everybody know where you're coming from and where your hometown is, that kind of thing, in case they cross paths with you. So I'll start with Judy. Judy, tell everybody where you're at and tell them again just what you do.
Thank you. I'm Judy Barb. I am in Wyoming, and I am a dietitian. So I blend that I love to eat with how to do it healthfully. So that's what I do.
Nice.
So right now I'm offering some online cooking classes.
That's pretty good. I wouldn't mind putting my iPad in a skillet and just getting rid of that thing right now. So you do it. Chester, you're a new face to almost everybody in here, I think.
Yeah.
If not everybody. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, let's see. I work for Tennessee Tech University. This is my branding during the coronavirus for when I have a meeting online. So but I work for Tennessee Tech, and I am the person who keeps the campus accessible. So whether it's digitally accessible or physically accessible for students with disabilities, making sure the classroom's accessible, they get accommodations and things like that. So,
Oh, cool. I didn't know exactly what you did over there. So now
in my day job, yeah. So
that's great. So you probably got some downtime, or is it?
Well, it's been kind of crazy because we're getting ready to move everybody online. That starts next week, so we've been busy with that. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good. Glenn, tell us about yourself down there.
All right, well, I'm in Texas, or Dallas, right outside of Dallas. I am on disability, but right now with the kids in school, my job is just to, try to keep them alive till this is done. Now they're at home and I'm at home, and I wasn't built for 24 hours with kids. So,
Yeah.
the number of kids that came into quarantine may not be the number of kids that come out of quarantine.
There you go. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not sure my kids are born for having two parents in the house at 24 hours a day. They're finding ways to avoid us and hide.
Yeah, my wife works from home, so she's usually used to quiet. And now she's got everybody here 24/7, and so it's been chaos.
Yeah, it's definitely different. John, tell everybody about yourself real quickly.
My name is John Peters, live in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, which is in Lancaster County, and I milk cows for a living. No, I'm a retired pastor, and I'm a cartoonist. So I'm basically devoting my time to doing that, and putting them online, trying to address some COVID issues and bring some comfort, and live with my wonderful wife of 43 years, Mary Lou. And I'm doing a lot of babysitting for my 5-year-old grandson. And it's been a joy, absolute joy.
That is cool. A little extra time for that's not bad. Aaron, what about yourself?
I thought the space bar would mute and unmute, but it didn't do that. That's not about me, though. I'm known as the unemployed alcoholic, and I help people laugh while highlighting recovery and faith. About 2 years ago, I started doing comedy and started going down this road. And about 3.5 years ago, I found sobriety and started down that road. So this is an interesting time for some of the things that have been kind of being queued up over the 2 to 3.5 years for me.
Excellent. And then Rhonda, a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Rhonda Corey. I'm from Rhode Island. I have to mention that. And I used to do comedy.
Been 14 days now.
Oh my gosh, that's how I feel. It's like I want to get on stage, But.
Yeah, it's interesting, and thanks for everybody jumping on today. Just the 2 weeks of kind of slowly grinding to a halt and pushing pause and kind of assessing where we're at and what can I actually do while I wait, and then realizing that the wait will probably be longer than we think, because as people start to get healthy, they still might be reluctant to go out and be part of groups and crowds and sitting next to strangers. And for the folks that are in comedy clubs, especially, that's really close proximity. I don't know how people are going to feel about jumping in there. So all kinds of different things will have to unravel and start to unfold to get back to where we were before. And that could take a while, I think. I'm not expecting it. I really don't expect anything before this fall. and then I really don't expect it to kind of kick in solid until we know for sure we've got something to inject people with, next January. So I don't know. I'm just batting down the hatches and doing things that I can do and that I sort of have control over, but trying to temper my expectations in the meantime because it could be a while. I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing some different thoughts from you folks out there as far as when you think things will crank back up or what it'll look like when it does. I guess we won't know when, but when it starts to crank back up, what do you think it'll look like? And Dustin just joined us. Hey, Dustin, how's it going?
Hey, well, how about yourself, guys?
Good. Hey, we just run around really quickly before you jumped on and told everybody a little bit about where we're at and what we do. So can you tell us where you're based and what you do?
Yeah. Sorry for being late. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I have 4 kids, and that's why I was late. Because we're all just trapped in this house together and have been for a few weeks now. I full-time, I'm in sales. I work in the pharmaceutical industry. It's a great job. Did my first open mic about 6 or 7 months ago and really have had a blast. So new to comedy, but things have really been going well and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. So.
Very good. And now we've got a full Brady screen. All 9 cubes are full. And Brian Bates, I can't remember whose spot you're in, but on my computer, it's the bottom right. Can't remember if that's the boys or the girls on that side, but how's it going, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. No luck with your driving Uber yesterday or the day before?
Still not anybody out there, unfortunately.
Nobody's looking to ride in a stranger's car?
Coffee.
Yeah. We're just kind of just kicking off here. And I don't know. I kind of think when things do start to get back to what looks like normal, it's still going to take longer for the comedy club crowds to come out and for people to buy tickets to sit next to somebody they don't know for something they don't have to go see. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I'm afraid you're right. I think I would be that way. Churches maybe come back a little bit quicker. People will try to go to church, I would think, obviously, as soon as they can, and then maybe get more acclimated. But comedy clubs, I think it'll be a little bit longer to come back than other areas of comedy, I would think.
Yeah, which, I hadn't thought about that, but for the folks that do shows at churches, that might be some of the first shows we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure, I don't know, every church has a different kind of personality, but my church is one that encourages fun and will look for the first chance. We've already talked about doing some kind of virtual talent show kind of thing just to connect people and have people see what other people do when they're home and stuff. So that might be one of the first things that comes back around.
Yeah, I feel like I'm looking at comedian schedules who are rescheduling. It seems like May is the month that's kind of still up in the air. I think we all know April's not happening. And most people who are rescheduling for the summer. But if you've already got some May dates, like I got a couple of dates late May, I don't know. I hope they happen. That's 2 months from now, but I just don't know.
Yeah. Here's the other question too, is when, even if things did start rolling back and they said we could go back to work, I might hang back a little bit before the early jump and just see how things go before. I mean, if you think about it, and I don't know the science, although I did see a very good Mythbusters. Have you all seen the Mythbusters on how germs can spread?
Mm-hmm.
Google that. It's only about 12 minutes long, but they basically, one of the Mythbuster guys has something put in that would kind of look like secretions, like a sneeze. So he's got the cold. He invites everybody over for a half-hour dinner party, but everything that anytime he shakes a hand or coughs or sneezes, it's like glow-in-the-dark stuff that they show with one of those lights afterwards, and everybody is contaminated. It's just like massively. But if you're on stage and you've got 200 or 300 people facing you, you can't tell a laugh from a cough if they're happening at the same time. And even a laugh might be sending something your way. Like just physically being on stage, being the target of 300 potential germ. I don't know how. I almost would rather catch it and get immunity to it if there is such that we don't exactly know, and then go out there and be like the one guy you can hire because he's not going down.
Oops.
So Rhonda's got it. So I'm going to mute her right now so her secretions don't get through to everybody. Yeah, Judy, what are you thinking?
So I said I teach these online cooking classes, and just what you said, Rick, about germ spreading. So last night I hosted a dinner party, and it was online, and it was all my cooking class participants, current and former. And people loved that social connection. And, you know, we were socially isolated. So I'm wondering, is there any avenue for you guys to do that? Your email lists, to host a comedy party, to keep your name out there and, you know, do that online? Or the other thing I'm thinking is I've reached out to some HR people because people are home and they're struggling with what to cook for dinner. So they're having their employees join my cooking classes while people have some downtime. I'm wondering if the HR people would be looking for just a little bit of humor right now for their staff when they're kind of in this stressful situation. Is that an opportunity to leverage your skill?
Yeah, I think, and let's talk through it, because I'm not sure, but I'm guessing a couple of you have at least been approached by a company that wants to do something. I've had about two that seem serious about wanting to do something. At first, they're like, we want to hire you to do a comedy show. We'll put you on Zoom and just let you go for 30 minutes. And I'm like, I could use the dollars, sure, but I don't know how that's going to come across, because first I'll have to mute everybody so I can concentrate enough to do my jokes. Then I won't be able to hear anybody laughing, so the timing will be off. So I wrestled with it. And one thing we're looking at doing next week, instead of me being the entertainer, I'll be the facilitator. And so the idea that I've kind of come up with is a hybrid of almost like I'll have some stuff prepared, some stuff that works better with this format than it would on a stage, almost like a written TV sketch or a morning show radio type atmosphere, a little bit fun, some kind of, you know, top 10 list. But then I'll kick it to somebody in the company on Zoom. We'll split the screen and I'll basically interview them like I'm hosting a late night show or whatever, just to find out more about them. And then the company will pick those people for me, but those people will be folks that have a skill or a talent that they can show us from their home. So if they play guitar or they do some kind of fun stuff and they can do it from their computer at home, they'll do that. They'll entertain the company. And I'm just kind of facilitating it, having some off the cuff marks after it's done and then following up with them. And we're keeping those at 10 minutes and they're thinking about doing one every day for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, I love that.
So I'd be curious if you have any other ideas, and you guys can definitely share that idea and use that if somebody contacts you, but it takes the pressure off of you trying to do what you normally do in an environment that you never do it in. And then which sets you up to worst case scenario, they just look at you like you're an idiot for 10 minutes and go, well, that was a waste of time. That guy's not funny, you know? But if you're facilitating, then you know, by the third or fourth day, I think they should look forward to seeing what you've got to bring to the table, and you're bringing a little bit of what you do each time.
Yeah, one of the things that's really jumped out to me during this transition is that when we're on stage, we can really be kind of single dimensional, where we're just funny. You know, we're getting laughs every 6 to 8 seconds or 14 seconds or whatever, but it just can be pretty heavy hitting funny. When we go into an online format or a digital format, I think we need to really focus on being multi-dimensional. For me, you know, every morning I've been putting out videos, and really they're not funny, they're just encouraging. And then some other stuff I've done, like I just recently put out a video. Rick, you and I were kind of talking about it a little bit, but it's tips on what I do to be effective when I work at home. And then I get up and I'm wearing a suit and tie, and then I get up and I'm just in my underwear underneath, and that's funny, and that goes into some funny outtakes and stuff. So it's multi-dimensional. It starts with delivering kind of an encouraging message and some advice on how to work from home, but then there's the punchline twist where I get up and it's really all a facade because I'm sitting there with a suit coat and tie on, but no pants. So I've been really focusing on trying to be multidimensional. Also, the other thing that I'm kind of getting rolling next week is doing a daily happy hour, where it's actually a format, well, identical format to this. It's going to be a Zoom format where people can get together, and we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the funny. So there will be a period of time where we're just laughing together, and it's informal. And then we'll go into kind of something similar to an open share, like recovery meeting format, where people have 2 minutes to share the good and the bad on what they're going with. And then there might be some questions and answers, and we'll just kind of pop around the room. So again, what's jumped out to me during this is the real need to be multidimensional and try to accomplish many different things as opposed to just being funny. Because if we're just being funny, it's to be on a two-dimensional screen. It's too much to ask to only be funny.
Yeah, and everybody's got different, sub skill sets or whatever. You might be more empathetic than other people, or more analytical, or whatever you got to bring. So yeah, if there's something you can do in addition to being funny, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And I also think too, especially with Zoom, it's so easy to share your screen if you want to, that having some pre-recorded bits, or even just taking some of your best 90-second, 2-minute clips that you have in stand-up. If somebody asks you to do something for their company, to have a couple of those where you can just click that, something where they can get a quick laugh and see who you are without you having to jump up there and tell jokes right out of the gate, which may not land. They can see that you've done it, you're professional, and you get laughs, and you're here to help with everybody, So there's definitely a lot of different things you can do with it. Let me so any other ideas as far as how to entertain or engage with a company if they want you to do something virtually? Because I see this will be more and more often that people want to try to find a solution. It'd be nice if we could maybe put together a pretty good format. We all go out there and do it. John Campbell, you're down there in the bottom. How's it going, sir?
Not too bad. I'm just listening. I didn't realize the meeting was today. Sorry, I came in late, but just kind of taking in what you guys are sharing. And I've been doing some of these. I've been shooting some videos this week. I've always kind of done video anyway, funny videos. Well, whether they're funny or not, that's arguable. But so the video format is pretty familiar. I've been using it this week for my students because I have 194 students that are going to be starting virtual classes on Monday. They've been on spring break. And so regarding the humor, I've been putting a little bit of humor in there to make it entertaining for them, but also being sensitive to what's going on in the world right now, because obviously it can't be all humor, because they have concerns obviously, and they're stressed about everything. We all are obviously about everything that's going on. So I just think with these companies or anybody that wants to put together a video right now, having a good balance of humor, and then maybe not ignoring the elephant in the room either about what's going on right now. I think that it'll help us connect better with people when we have that mindset with our videos. Everybody's different though. So that's kind of how I've been approaching it.
Yeah. And on the same line, when you do these things, not everybody's going to get it or want to be there in the first place. It's still a meeting that they have at work. So just like in an audience at the comedy club, I wouldn't start looking at the squares and fixate on the one person that's not digging it at all, or they're checking their phone, because there's going to be some of those folks on there too, for sure. Yeah, I'm curious, Chester, you work with some online learning and stuff like that. What kind of, even just the very first 2 or 3 minutes when people log on to a class, is there anything going on for them to see, or do they just kind of straggle in like they do a classroom? What are some things that might be able to be useful?
Yeah, it's been kind of like this. The thing that I usually have to deal with most is making sure that they can physically get into the room, that they have captions and things like that, so that everybody can have access to the information, that they're able to record it, those kind of things. Anything that you're presenting, because if you're using captions and things like that, or if you have somebody in the room, everybody can benefit from those kind of things. But if you have somebody who's relying on those sort of things, and you're using the presenter screens and things like that, they're not going to have the benefit of those captions unless you're describing what's on the screen and things like that. You don't have to do it really super in depth, but just to kind of talk about what you're doing, which we're all storytellers anyway. So just to be able to kind of describe what's going on. Mine is really more concerned. I'm really more concerned in the online atmosphere, making sure that everybody's getting benefit of the information, that everybody can actually see, hear the information, participate in those kind of things. So,
it's a great point. I never even thought about if somebody logged on and they were hearing impaired or visually impaired. You don't want to be exclusive right out of the gate, but I wasn't even thinking about that. Just I'm always talking to people that I kind of know from one place or the other.
Yeah,
But
and
that's something else.
I'm working on our campus right now with we use a variety of different services like live caption services and things like that. We also have some technology that's really good because not all technology is accurate, things, but just making sure that everybody has access and everybody benefits from captions, so
Yeah.
that's something I automatically, any room I go in, anything I do, I automatically start thinking who's not going to be able to get the benefit from this and how can I fix that? So.
Is there an app or a software thing that captions as you go that's easy to learn?
Yeah, I mean, well, like captions as you go, that's easy to learn. Like Zoom actually has a caption feature, but it's really pretty complicated. I don't know if anybody in here has tried to use that or anything, but it's not user friendly. So typically we have like some things, software that are like proprietary that we get.
Right.
A lot of the automated stuff is just really not that accurate. It's kind of fun to watch on YouTube sometimes, the captions that, if you see the things that it says, you could actually probably make some sort of sketch out of that. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. I get the podcast transcribed through Otter, and it's about 95% effective, but when it misses something, it usually misses it in a funny way.
It does, yeah.
But one that I would not want to get out to the public. Oh, man. And Dustin, you're in sales, you said, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, I mean, how's this affected you as far as customers? Did you acquire them face-to-face before, or what's your situation?
Yeah, well, I sell drugs, so it's pretty good. And people have to take their medicines, year in and out. But so I work for a great company. I've been very fortunate that the only thing that's really changed is that I'm at home now. My company's doing a great job of supporting us, paying us, even though we're just kind of working from home how we can. So professionally, I'm fine. So what I've been doing during the downturn is just trying to reach out to my friends that I have that are comics, that are professionals, and just try to encourage them to keep doing what they're doing. And if there's just really more emotionally, because I know their life changed a lot more significantly than mine has. So I just want to kind of encourage them and check on them as a person before we start getting into more practical encouragement about what they can do, just because I know their world was rocked more than mine was.
Right.
From a comedy perspective, I've gone back more to doing social media type stuff, which is what I was doing long before I ever got on a stage. So kind of gone back to my roots of just silly posts on Facebook and Instagram.
Gotcha. One thing I want to do is talk about maybe one idea I had was, so we're supposed to wash our hands for 20 seconds. That's like the minimum. And I guess it's this virus, as bad as it is, it breaks down after 20 seconds of soap and water, like the outer shell of it falls apart or whatever. So that's why the 20 seconds is important. But, we could all put together or pull a 20-second clip, post it on Facebook and say, here's something to do for those 20 seconds while you're washing your hands. Just
That's cool.
Simple little things like that. And if it's 30 seconds, nobody's going to know the difference, but something where you can put something out there that's somewhat helpful, but, they're going to at least check it and watch a 20-second clip. And that might get them to follow you down a rabbit hole, social media or YouTube or something else, but it's something that's beneficial and you could have queued up and ready to go. Even if it's just your opening line's probably right around 15, 20 seconds. So even if it's something just really quick.
That's true. Clean comedy.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I like that. Clean comedy while you clean your hands.
Yep.
What are some other quick and easy videos you think we could put together for folks? And what I'm thinking too is it would be great if we shared those amongst each other. So if you did get a gig, Rhonda, where you're doing something online, you wouldn't have to provide all the content. You could grab something that Glenn did or Aaron did or Judy did and Brian. We could all share a little bit of each other in these situations as they come up. I think we've got 2 or 3 months of this at least.
That's what I actually want to do with my page. I think I want to advertise my page and just kind of promote other comics, and like I thought Aaron's video was really funny where he gets up and he's in his underwear. It was really cute. And so I want to share humor because I think it's I believe in humor, but I just think it's so well needed during this time because it's such a crazy time. So I'd like my page to be, something that you can go to for humor, not necessarily all mine, but, just to promote other comics too. And who knows?
Yeah, to be the aggregator and the person that facilitates all that. You're as important in that role as you are as being the main person on stage. Just the person, the go-to person to help people laugh. And definitely people want almost permission to laugh right now. We did some man on the street stuff this past week for Huckabee, where I was doing true false questions for people about the COVID virus, but the answer was always false, and it was always the funny answer. And the first 2 or 3 people we asked, they were kind of like really trying to figure it out. And then we said, the third person that came over said, this is a comedy bit. It's going to be fun, so just have fun with it. And from there on, everybody just laughed at every question and every answer. Like they wanted to know it was okay to laugh about this stuff. So it's almost a mental thing that you tell them up front, hey, this is fun. This is to break the ice, and you need to go ahead and do it. Because there are people just bottling it up and like, I'm 51. I feel bad for anybody that's 61 and up, because those are the numbers that they show the most on the news. And the older the people were that we interviewed, the harder they laughed once they knew it was okay to laugh. Like you could just almost tell, like, oh, this is, and people would even say, this has been a great break from all this stuff. Thank you guys. We were just trying to get content, but it ended up being very helpful for them. So yeah, Judy, you got a thought?
Just on your content. So, I'm just aware that a lot of people have gone gluten-free, but there's no flour in the grocery store. So I don't know what you could do with that, you guys, but to me, it's so funny because all of a sudden, what are we doing with that flour at home? Because, everybody was gluten-free.
Yeah. What's the switch that flipped that said it's okay to go full on?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. And that's probably another angle or comedy angle to pursue is since something was taken away from us, meeting up with friends and going to work and just having the privilege of performing, or whatever your audience that you're speaking to does, what are you doing in replace of that? That could almost be a question and answer for any session you have with the company online. What have you found yourself doing at home that you're like, you know what, I wouldn't normally do this, but since we're in Armageddon, it's okay to do this for a couple of months. Like, what are people giving themselves permission to do? And before you ask somebody else that, does anybody have anything that you've been doing at home? You're like, I don't normally do this, but hey, I'm just going to let it fly for a few months and just take a break from all the rules since the rules have been changed on me.
This hangout?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. You're normally too busy and traveling to jump on one, right? But have you done anything else? Like I've found that in the positive way, I've been taking walks with my family more and getting outside and enjoying the fresh air, just because we all are still working and it is a competitive business, but I feel like everybody's kind of been put on pause right now. So I don't feel bad about getting up and doing something for myself or my family right now, because it's like, you know what? If anybody else is only working at their desk 10 hours a day during this, they're kind of crazy. You should take this opportunity to, I'm doing some projects that I've wanted to do for a while. That's the busy part of it and the work part, but I'm also doing some health things I should be doing, taking some walks, eating a little more healthy, preparing meals. Once a week I get the crock pot out and get something going, and ribs are great in the crock pot. So it's something that I normally wouldn't have time to do, but maybe I did the whole time, didn't realize it. Have you all found any hobbies or stuff that you got back to a little bit with some spare time, or anything else, Chester?
I was just going to say a couple things. So spending time with our animals, we have 3 dogs and a cat. And so I think they're like, I don't know if they're overwhelmed with us being at home all the time or what, but they're like, whoa, But so I've kind of been spending more time with them, which, I thought, man, I think about the amount of time I don't spend with them. So I thought that was interesting. But then because I'm new to all of this and I really want to learn more, writing is something that I've been trying to do. But I would really like to hear some thoughts on, like, how I've been through, your class. I would like to do your actual writing class, in person. But, like, what are you doing? Like, what's your process like at home right now? Are you able to write right now, or do you feel paralyzed by everything that's going on? And are you more worried about what are you going to do to bounce back, or are you actually spending time writing?
Brian, did you have something to add?
Well, I enjoy writing, and it's obviously we got more time to write now, but I've found that not knowing when your next gig's going to be, and it could be months, it's a little hard for me to get as motivated to write, because I'm like, by the time I get to try this out on stage, it may be so dated. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So I've tried to, and I've only done this once, but I hope to maybe make it a regular thing. I go for afternoon walks, and if I got a joke that I wrote that I like, I try it out. Like I post it, I record it on my walk, and then I post it online and get it out there. And then if it, get some feedback, then it's not the same obviously as it's not guaranteed that if it does well online, it'll do well in front of a comedy audience, but it's a way to at least get it out there, let people hear it, and you can get some feedback,
Yeah, your talk about the stimulus money cracked me up. That was great.
Yeah, thank you. That's the only one I've done so far, but
It was fun.
I'd like to get maybe a daily routine of an afternoon walk, and I post a joke online every day, and at least I've got them recorded, so whenever I do a gig 6 months from now, I'll remember how they go.
I think it's a great thing, just having a deadline or something that, I'm going to do this afternoon. I need to have something to put in the hopper.
Motivation.
It definitely is motivation and accountability all rolled into one. And watch out if they get to be popular. People can be mad if you don't show up. So
I do feel like if you're going to do some type of online social media thing, probably consistency is important.
Yeah. It's also a good time to bank some of that stuff too. Like I know when things are going what used to be normal and pretty busy, and you're on the road and you're coming home and you're on the road and you're coming home, it's hard to get some things done weekly that you think you should do, whether it's marketing or business stuff or just taking personal inventory of your comedy assets, if you want to put it that way. Like, when's the last time you sat down and just wrote down every single joke you have, typed it into a spreadsheet or Evernote, or just look at your last longest recording, whether it's a half hour, an hour, and just really looked at it. You could even easily get that transcribed again with Otter and things like that, and break it down. It's a great time to kind of look at what you have and how you can get better at it. So when it does kick back up, you just didn't waste time. Performance as well. 'Cause I think the podcast after this next one that comes out will all be about that, looking at your material and doing stuff, almost like taking the car into the shop for 3 months. Let's get under the hood, fix what wasn't working. Let's amplify what was working. So when we get back on the road, we're not missing a beat. And that's very hard to do when you're going full steam ahead all the time. But now it's a killer opportunity. And if you do keynotes or programs or things outside of comedy, the same thing, just pulling one of those down, looking at it. One thing I've got this Mayberry keynote that I do, and the one thing that's always bugged me is that I've got way too many slides. And initially, every slide was what I was supposed to say next. It was like a teleprompter. And I've had 2 times in the past year where the projector didn't work and I had to go off my notes. And those were 2 of my better shows, programs with that, because I wasn't looking at the screen and looking at them. Some of the visuals get a laugh, so I want to keep those. But my challenge to myself during this downtime is to cut the number of slides in half. So when I do go back, it's not this really ridiculous number. It looks a little bit more normal. And just spending more time memorizing it and working on the delivery of it. So, and it's not a program that I do more than 2 times a month. So it always could use some work, but I never feel like I should spend time on it. But I'm kind of thinking if I did spend on time on it, it'd probably be 4 or 5 times a month I'd be giving it because it got much better. So
Rick, can I share something about writing process?
Yeah.
This has been quite a unique change for me because initially I would write 3-4 times a week. Most of it was just junk, and there'd be 1 or 2 wonderful things in my own mind out of it. But I made a discovery. I came up with a cartoon where I showed Carmen Miranda with toilet paper on her head, and the title was Charmin Miranda. Okay. And I didn't know, the dynamics of it. It did really well on Facebook. And then I did one similar to that along the same themes, and it was the most popular cartoon I've done since I've started this. Okay. So what I've learned is targeted writing is what is meeting the need. I can do jokes, I can do funny pictures and things like that, but it's the ones that are dealing with what's on people's minds right now. What's their drama? What's their fear right now? And to target the writing to meet that need. Now, that has made the writing process 3 times as difficult, where it'll take me a day and a half of going through ideas, thinking this is good, people suggesting. Somebody suggested instead of Mr. T, Mr. TP, which I think is a great idea. It just, and all these other things. And then I get these ideas. And finally, after a day and a half of writing and just stewing and crying out to the good Lord for help, one particular idea will stand out. The idea is to target it for the current need, and then people are responding to that. So
Yeah.
we can make jokes about anything, and all jokes are funny, and for a moment relieve the tension and the pain. But I have found, at least for what I do, targeted writing, comedy writing, seems to be the most effective.
Yeah, it can be super helpful, I think, because the first thing all my friends are like, "Hey, what jokes are you writing about this virus?" And that's just like a big wide. I mean, it's as wide as it can possibly be. But if you just isolate that down to the need for ventilators, or the lack of preparedness, or moving a Navy battleship to New York, there's like a million little things that can give you the setup to write a joke, and you could write 100 punchlines for each of those till you found the perfect one. But instead of just saying, "What are you writing about this whole situation?" that's just, it's too nebulous to really dial into. So one thing I like to do as a writing assignment in my writing class is to take a headline and just write a punchline to it. So you could jump on to any CNN or C-SPAN or CNBC or Fox, and just take any of their headlines and just pause it right there, and that's the setup, and see if you can write a punchline off of that. Finish it in a different way that people wouldn't expect. So it's a little writing exercise that can kind of get your pencil moving. But if that takes you somewhere that you didn't plan on, but it leads to good stuff, just follow that road. A lot of times it's just a prompt, like how writers will have a writer's prompt for the day, something like that to get you going, to get you in that headspace, and separate you from everything that's going on around you, so you can focus on it. And like you say, anything that's going to be on C-SPAN today is what people are talking about. If they weren't before, they're talking about it now because it's the national headline. And just taking that focus, it's in any tragic situation like this, like with 9/11, you're not making fun of how we got bombed. We're making fun of what they thought they would get in reward for bombing us. Or, you skew it over a little bit. You're not hitting the nail on the head. You're hitting your thumb, and that's what's funny. You know what I'm saying? So finding just the thing that's a little askew. The toilet paper is the easiest example from this most recent thing, because people are just buying it like crazy, like coronavirus gives you diarrhea or something. Like, they have no idea that they're still going to stock it. That right now, at least, the trucks are still going to Kroger. You got to get there early, and if you're over 70, you get there first. But there's always something a little off to the side that people are sort of notice, but they don't notice it until you dial it in for them.
When I've thought about writing in the past, I've thought about like writing for stand-up, and so my focus has shifted a little bit from writing to producing, either recording the video or producing a little still image or something like that, with, like you're talking about, Rick, with the just the distilled joke down. So that's been really important for me to make that transition from, okay, I'm not necessarily just writing, I'm producing something. So the end result is not stand up. The end result is something physical, either a video or a post or whatever. And also the thing about setting goals, I've decided that it doesn't always have to be funny, but every single day I want to put something out via video. And then I've also decided that Monday through Thursday, I want to put something out that's a static image that's funny. But even this morning, I had a little feeling of panic because I'm only like 4 days ahead on that right now. And it's like, man, what about what's going to happen when the funny runs out? But I think we're a long ways from the funny running out if we're just observant of what's going on. Like this morning, my wife said, I just saw something online that said it's a 1,000-piece puzzle for ages 6 months and up, which doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But it just cued in my brain, and I thought, oh, actually, when I tell this, the joke's going to be, my wife recommended we do a puzzle that's 5 years and up, but I think that's way too long. So I grabbed that, okay. and I found an image of a puzzle, and I dropped the words in and threw my logo on that, and then boom, posted it on my website to be released on April 2nd, and that's done. So, being observant for the funny, because it's definitely happening, and then trying to produce that into something tangible as opposed to writing for some enigmas show that may happen down the road.
Yeah, I like that. It makes it more immediate, more useful at the same time. Any other ideas as far as creating some content or creating a frame of mind to get into to write?
Well,
I've
I
just
mean,
been
as far as-
trying to post. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. As far as like content, I see a lot of things about COVID-19. Everybody's coming out with like sales and specials, right? That you see cars and I don't know. Just being home all the time, I just think it'd be funny, like if divorce attorneys started, COVID-19 discounts because you're at home all the time with your wife, and so I mean, I've heard the jokes about more babies because of this and homeschooling and what about divorce? I think divorce is going to go up because everybody's at home all the time now. Now you're kind of spent. So I don't know. I just, in my mind, I thought it'd be kind of funny to do a attorney commercial with the COVID-19 discount,
I think that's great.
It's not on car accidents.
What?
I saw one last night. It was like the guy. It's like one of the ambulance chaser kind of commercials, but it was like, we can take care of you online. It was that kind of.
Okay. I hadn't seen anything on divorce yet.
No, I think that's great. And, that's a great bit you can have acted out, or you can just, you can do the commercial part. And typically those attorneys are they're not great actors. So those commercials are kind of hokey. So the more uncomfortable you are sometimes being that person, the funnier it can be, as opposed to trying to play it really straight. Tennessee's got some really, really classic ones. We got this guy's about 150-year-old that they prop up in these commercials, and his son does all the talking for him basically. But every area has that, Ohio, Michigan have these two little people attorneys that do all kinds of stuff, and they're always on TV. So yeah, having a divorce, that might be so that's one example, but there could be like 20 more examples of businesses that are going to thrive because we're all stuck together. Divorce attorney, definitely one, but what else could come from that? Something to think about.
Rick, you mentioned the senior day at the grocery store, and I've had some friends go, and it is so crowded. The line goes clear around the parking lot with all these seniors close together, waiting to get into the store. And someone said, oh, I guess this is an easy way to thin the herd. So, I think that it could be kind of funny that we're setting up these opportunities that, oh my gosh, that was a left turn nobody saw, that all the seniors were going to go to the grocery store because it was safe. And now
Are they checking your ID at the grocery store to make sure, like they've got a bouncer there, or some people having
Bouncers at the door.
Yeah,
there was a bouncer at
my 50.
There was a bouncer at my dad's bank. They let one person in at a time, so I thought that's kind of funny. Bouncer at the bank.
I think we ought to start commercializing the whole COVID thing. There's a branding that we could do, like breakfast cereal with instead of Lucky Charms, you throw in little COVID things with the little cups on it. Different kinds of COVID soap, laundry detergent. I think we're going to see, but it's probably too soon for that.
No, but I see what you're saying. The virus itself looks like a Fruity Pebble or something like that kind of cereal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rick, I could see you doing something with your crock pot ribs, because with that hand washing, the point is to really scrub. And so, like I say, scrub like you're getting sticky barbecue sauce off your hand. Well, I didn't think about you pulling your crock pot ribs, out and these gross fingers. So I don't know if there's a funny there for you.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about, but the crock pot's a weekly thing now. So next time I get it out, I'll make some kind of video to go along with it. It's I don't know, there's a ton of opportunities, I think.
Hearing all these ideas, and Rick, you kind of talked a little bit about it, and Rhonda, you talked about sharing on your page and stuff. Rick, is there a School of Laughs Facebook group that might be a good kind of collection point for people to post stuff, or maybe the CCA Green Room would be a good spot, or somehow, like where could we share stuff and find stuff to share?
Yeah, you know what? What I could do, I've thought about this 100 times, I just never done it, is just have a Club 52 Facebook group.
Yeah.
So there's, like 25, 30 of us all together. And it'd be a place where I could post this afterwards, for the people that didn't see it, and keep it a closed group. But if we have stuff that we want to share, post it on there, and then, put it in a Google Drive or a Dropbox where if anybody saw it and they want it, there's a link that they can go get it to share it. And just make sure whatever you put in there, if you do want it shared, at some point has your website or where you want it to direct people to if they're interested in what you just did. But I think especially now we've got some time to do some things like this. And I would love to share as much as I can of anything that you guys have. I think, again, 30 to 90 seconds, maybe 2-minute bits are easiest to share and put out for different things. But after we get done with this call and after I have lunch, I'll pop in and put a little Club 52 Facebook group together. And see
That'd
if
be
you guys
cool,
invite to that.
especially if it was, if it was like on the top level, intended as a sharing resource to find stuff to share and post stuff that you want shared. That seems like a really applicable thing. Thanks, Rick, for doing that.
Yeah, and it can be your stuff. But again, if you find something that's interesting that you think would be great for all of us to share, just to curate it in there, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Rick, what about your idea of reaching out to the local TV station about tips on staying positive?
Yeah, I had a couple things pop up and I didn't get a chance to follow through on that here locally yet, but I do think everybody in your own town could approach TV or radio, morning shows, and just be a voice of comedy. And here's some things you can do, and here's some free things you can do to bring comedy into your everyday life. For example, set up a Spotify or a Pandora channel around your favorite comedian, and then it will build out other comedians similar to that, and that would be your stream coming in every day. You could point them towards Dry Bar. They have a free, I think right now it's free for the next 3 months. Without even using the app, you can go on your computer. They're doing a thing for this virus where people are stuck at home, so they can get all the access for free. So you could recommend, Dry Bar specific, generally, or somebody's special in Dry Bar specifically to people to go see. A few comedians that post online, anything like that you can kind of make a bullet list. I mean, just think about the news. They're going to interview you. They're going to show a 5-point max bullet list at the end of the interview. Here's some things you can do today. And here's the website you can go to for more information. So if you have a website with a page, that could just be tools, or not tools, that's a better word, resources during these tough times. They click on aaronsorrells.com/COVID resources, COVID comedy resources, whatever. And so the stuff that we share could go there as well, so that we can kind of get the message out. But if you can become that go-to person or one of the go-to people for comedy in your area, right now news is, I mean, they're trying to find stuff like that, and that's another thing you can make fun of. Really, outside of that, is the stuff that they're finding sometimes is missing so bad. They're just struggling to find something funny to add to this. You could be a great resource to do that. And again, if anybody does that, post a link to it in this Club 52 Facebook group so we can see what it looks like, and just borrow the ideas and spread it.
That seems like an excellent idea. If we could be a resource to the news on how to find some good, clean comedy during this, that's really brilliant.
Well, it's almost, you got to flip it around like customer service, because the first thought I had when this was going down is, they're going to start interviewing like musicians and gig workers, like, how's it affected you? But if they did that, really the best thing we could do goes, well, it affected me with gigs, but here's what I'm able to do because of this. Here's some things I can provide for the community or for other people and still be a creative resource. So, but my first instinct was always like, yeah, man, I've lost a ton of gigs. It's affected me, but nobody wants to tune in and hear that. They want to tune in and find solutions, not to hear more problems. So,
when Rick was talking about that, did that jump out to anybody like, ooh, I'm going to put that list together? No.
We could build that list in the Facebook group, just anytime you have an idea, just add to it. And, maybe I'll post a couple of conversation starter type things, and like we can just start listing things under there that might be good resources, or these are good videos to watch right now, or here's some clips that I have online already that are ready to go. And we can kind of build that stuff out. pretty quickly and then add to it as we see some ideas. Cool. Any other ideas as we move forward?
Is
I mean,
there any way to do now I think you guys are a lot further along the line than me, but what about some type of open mic? You know, when Marty does the punchlines in pajamas, but if we had other avenues besides just that one, and I know you do a performance class. I don't know if we can do something like that online or what, but that's all I'd be interested in, because you know what we're talking about, but also some more Zoom open mics and just to go over material and get feedback. And I think that's a good place. I mean, if we can do that.
It's something we can look at for sure. How many people are, what's the weekly schedule like for most people in this group? I mean, I'm free till August, but I don't know if you guys, you got yours all printed out. There you go. Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
But Saturdays are Saturday mornings are usually pretty good for me. But I don't know if that's the best time to do comedy. If we wanted to do a comedy open mic, but I'm open to ideas. Or I guess maybe once we get in this Club 52 Facebook group, if somebody wants to even facilitate it, and I can jump in on it, however we want to do it. Zoom's free up to so many people for so many minutes every month.
How about comedians at breakfast drinking coffee with Rick Roberts?
I already had an open mic scheduled for April 2nd, and I'm the only person on earth who hasn't canceled their open mic yet. So, I mean, I was already thinking about converting it to like a Zoom open mic, and anybody that wants to join in can just do it. So I'm thinking about doing that. There's people around here in the LA area that have been doing virtual open mics, and even some of the comedy clubs have been sending emails saying, hey, if you want to, one of them's charging, it's like $5 a slot. You email it or Venmo us $5, you can get a 5-minute spot at our open mic. I'm not going to do mine that way. It'll be free, but so I was already thinking about doing it. So if I do, I'll let you guys know.
Cool. Yeah,
I think it's an excellent suggestion. I attend Marty simply because I'm house ridden anyway, and it's my only outlet of getting in, facing people trying to tell jokes. So, I mean, if there were more of these, I would be part of them. So, John, keep me informed, and anything we do here, I'm very much for it.
Well, I mean, the biggest challenge is that there's no laughs, obviously, and punchlines and pajamas.
That's okay, John. I'm used to that. That's not a problem. Not a problem.
Yeah, but I mean, the PIP is kind of more. It's like more of a writers group, but I don't know. I mean, if anybody has any ideas on how to address that problem, because there's no laughing, so you don't know if your jokes are funny or whatever. But
I think even at an open mic or some of the ones in Dallas that you do, it's mostly comics anyway. And if you're in a room full of comics, at least my experience is there are not a whole lot of laughs there anyway. Right?
Yeah.
It makes me think, John, about, when you're doing like a Facebook Live or something like that, and people can do the hearts or the smiley faces, the laughy faces and things like that. That'd be kind of a cool gauge if you had an ability to do something like that, I don't know.
I have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just think one way to kind of get around that, maybe, if we put together something that wasn't exactly an open mic, you're not on the spot to deliver something for 3 minutes, right, but almost gamify it, finish this setup. And so you've already written your punchline for it, but you're going to see what other people come up with it.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I mean? I'll start it. Yeah. Everybody has a chance to chime in. If you don't have something, you just say pass, or then it comes back, and then I give the punchline that I had written. Yeah. But I might have realized, that one three people ago was better than what I had. But whatever we put out, you can use. So if it's your setup and we give you a punchline, you can use it or disregard it. But just to facilitate the creation of humor quickly, as opposed to delivering 3 minutes to pseudo silence, awkward computer system, viewing, and then moving on.
That's kind of like Set List. Have anybody seen Set List? Comedians get up, they have nothing written. The producers put on the screen a premise, an outrageous premise, and that comedian has to speak impromptu about that. It's a great challenge for creativity. That would be something fun to do.
That sounds like a wonderful format.
Where is set list?
YouTube set list. That's not clean, but it's good learning for comedians.
Yeah, Chester.
I just have a question. Like, can I get some idea of where everybody is? Like, how many years you're in this? Because, like, I'm brand new to it. Like, brand new to this. So I'm learning about everything everybody's saying. I mean, I've been doing like keynotes and academic speaking for 20 years, but as far as like actual getting into comedy and stand up, I'm brand new. So I just love to get an idea of how long people have been doing this. I mean, are you still in the lurking at open mic stage, or how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, I'll point at people as we go. Aaron, how long for you? It's been, what, 2 years?
Yeah, just 2 weeks, over 2 years. And I still, well, before it was illegal, I still lurk at open mics and probably always will. But I do some other larger things and some speaking things as well.
And then Rhonda, how long have you been in it now? It's been
a few years, but I don't count it all because of stage time. So I really say like maybe 3 years.
Got it. And Glenn, Glenn's fairly new too. Glenn, how long have you been kicking the tires on it?
Man, I did about 3 open mics like 5 years ago that I've been doing for a while, and I haven't done any since. So I got in Rick's class probably 8 months ago and kind of working through that. And so basically now it's writing, and I hope to use this time to kind of maybe practice my own stuff on like on a recorder and then hit some open mics whenever they open up again.
And Dustin, you're also pretty fresh, right?
Yeah, pretty new. I did my first open mic at the Laughing Skull last June, so I'm also new. One of my many personality flaws is that I don't dabble very well. I don't do moderation. You can tell buffets, I don't do moderation very well either. So I've gone big. When I go big. So I've had a pretty active 7 months or 8 months, however. But yeah, so I'm pretty new also.
Gotcha. Brian, I know it's been a little while for you now. Starting to add up, isn't it?
It is. I took your comedy class in January of 2007, so it's been just a little bit over 13 years.
Yep, that's gone by fast.
Hard to believe.
Yeah. And Judy's been doing speaking and stuff for a while, but comedy is just something she's working to incorporate into the mix now.
I'm right in front of you in line, Chester. I'm a newbie, but I did do a one-on-one coaching with Rick that was super helpful to take some of my speaking points and turn them a little and make them funnier. So Rick, that was so good for me. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, that was fun. It's fun kind of like peeking into somebody else's keynote and seeing where we could punch things up. I had fun with that. And then John Campbell, how long?
I mean, I started in 2012 and I've been doing it off and on since then, mostly off. But I've gotten more serious about it the last year and a half.
Yeah. And then John Peters, you've been around it for a while.
Yeah, it's about 7.5 years, but I did start with a handicap like Chester of having been a preacher my whole life. So it was a hard transition to go from serious speaking to a comedic mindset. So 7 years of pain and trauma, success here and there, mostly pain and trauma.
Yeah. And I think for me, I think May will be, it's either 29 or 30 years of the unemployed comedian, not the unemployed alcoholic, but yeah, it's been. But I tell you, but this is one of the few times where in the comedy profession, it's really shifted pretty hard. It never even, I wouldn't say it never occurred to me that I wouldn't be able to go do what I do, but this way that it's happened didn't occur to me. You know, I haven't watched Pandemic in the past 2 years or any of those movies where it was like, here's what's coming. But, you know, with my wife she works for a promoter. So they promote comedy shows across the country, and they're a subdivision of Live Nation. And they're they've never prepared for this at all. When people have shows coming up in 2 months where they were guaranteed, $100,000 or $200,000 to go do a Friday night somewhere, like they're rescheduling those, but like it was a guarantee. So do we go ahead and get that money now? Like they're having to freeze contracts and freeze discussions and just kind of look at it from a whole host of angles. So even this far in, I'm exactly at the same spot as you guys are on how to handle this, because it's never popped up. There was a slowdown in 2008 with corporate bookings because of the economy. There was a week or two of really not knowing what to do after 9/11. They didn't know whether it should be funny or not, and then that kind of got back on gear pretty quick. But as far as everybody that performs, you don't have an audience now the way you used to. That never popped in my mind, so it's just kind of swimming in uncharted territory, But I think there's opportunity. The other thing, too, don't you feel like I don't want to be an opportunist in a time like this and take advantage of the situation, but how do I help and still be beneficial to me at some point, but really making that the back seat to it? Like, how can I just help facilitate something for other people while I try to get my bearing here? Like, I do not want to, I don't know, somebody sent me an email like the first week. They're like, you should start pushing your online classes all over the internet right now. People really want to take an online class. Like, maybe they do, but is my motivation because I'm not having any income right now, or is it because I really want to help them out? Like, I don't want to be that way with it. And so just kind of balancing all that out. What can I provide and still still grow in my profession in a way from the time spent developing that, but not look like the ambulance chasing lawyer.
Yeah, I just had a pretty in-depth conversation with a friend of mine on that exact same thing. The question we posed to each other was, how can you find opportunities without being opportunistic? And what we really kind of landed on is who's benefiting in this situation. Like Rick, when you talk about your online classes, the people that take those classes, they receive incredible value and they benefit from it. So I think with a clear conscience and knowing that you're adding value in a legitimate way, you can grasp that opportunity and fulfill that demand and know that you're benefiting other people. It's when we get into situations where, it's either us majorly benefiting or us entirely benefiting off of somebody else losing. That's when it turns optimistic and it gets kind of ugly. So I think everything you do, Rick, is finding opportunity as opposed to opportunistic.
I think you can frame it, Rick, to say, in this time, and then be sensitive to the situation, but also recognize people still want to learn. So for my online cooking classes, I just lowered the price and said, I think we're all feeling this COVID pinch right now. And so because we're home and, I know people are in a dinner rut, so let's do it. And actually I have my largest class ever right now.
Yeah,
That's
I think
great.
people are looking for something to do.
Yeah, I guess, it's focusing on the need and then just providing the solution for the need.
Yeah.
But not coming at it from any kind of angle where they're not getting something in return. Yeah.
Yeah, like the
I
ad
think
from
that's what-
Nordstrom that's telling us to buy our spring break sandals right now. It's such a thoughtless ad because nobody's going on spring break right now, so we don't need sandals. But
Right.
But
Well,
skill
Rick, I think
development
it's-
people do need.
I think it's kind of what I was saying before. Look for the need.
Yeah.
What is a genuine need right now? Comfort, taking away fear, but also, they need something to do. They need something to occupy, and to make that would be a great blessing. Maybe I think a great idea is reduce prices, but I don't want to tell you to do that. But things like that are happening all over, where things are being reduced and people are being accommodated, and that's a wonderful gesture that we see happening. Yeah.
And with this time of isolation, people just have an incredible hunger right now to connect in any way. So to do things like this or your online classes or things like that, there's a genuine and very real demand and need to connect. So just connecting in any way.
I think when this is over, you were talking about, when are people going to be ready for this all again. I think people are going to be really ready to laugh, and they're going to be looking for something. I live in the area of, the tornadoes that were here. I have lots of friends and family who lost homes. And then we have the COVID-19 thing. And I just think when we pull out of this, people are going to be looking for some escape. I think people are going to be looking to laugh. I really do. I think they may be looking now, but they might feel a little guilty about it. But I think in the future, they're going to be looking for it.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Like I know people like to laugh, but the people like to laugh in groups. Like, and that's the hard part right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
you can point people towards a dry bar video or a clip on YouTube, but they really like sharing that laughter. And that's the part that's kind of not impossible, but very tricky to do. So it's going to be, it'll be interesting to see how it comes back around, but they'll definitely be ready. That's for sure.
Well, and Rick, a lot of churches, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rhonda.
Oh, that's okay.
Go ahead. You go.
Rhonda gets to go.
Rhonda, you go.
I want to go.
I was thinking when you were talking about, how people are going to be scared afterwards. I don't know. I think people are going to have such cabin fever.
Yes.
And you're just not going to be able to wait. People just can't wait to get out now. I mean, I drove down the street and there's people out everywhere. I'm like, there should be no traffic at all, I mean, people are risking their lives to go to Starbucks, for crying out loud. I mean, my husband's a manager for Starbucks, and they're only open through drive-through, and he's got like 20 cars lined up in the window. I mean, for a coffee, So
I think, Rhonda, that is super funny. I think that's really funny. I mean, what are you doing in your Starbucks line, while you're waiting in line?
I want to be fully awake when I catch this disease.
Driving around, yeah.
I think what Brian said about, maybe this joke's going to get old in 6 months. I don't think it is. I think you're spot on that people want to laugh. I mean, how many times have you seen something just this week on Facebook that you share with your spouse because they're the only one there to share it with? But I mean, you're right, Rick, people do like to laugh in groups, but we're always going to share funny. And I think the toilet paper and the hand washing, because we've all been doing this, I don't think that joke's going to get old for a long time because people lived it.
I know I want to get to Aaron in a second, but Rhonda, you had a phrase there that I think is perfect for what we're trying to do is cabin fever comedy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like if we kind of brand what we're doing as cabin fever comedy, that's everybody immediately knows what we're talking about. Like, yeah, we need to do something. We're all stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody's got that or not, but I'm going to can I use that as our group thought and then maybe put something together with that?
Of course. And then after, I'm going to have your Laugh Your Masks Off tour. So
Laugh Your Masks Off. I like it. I like it.
That's my tour next time. I want everybody.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, that's good.
So hopping back to that, Rick, and everybody was kind of talking about it a little bit, that dynamic of laughing together versus watching something and how different that is. And I think churches are really struggling with that right now because they want it to be that live experience. But at the same time, they don't want, they want it to be that live experience, but at the same time, when the church goes live and the worship team gets up and starts playing on two-dimensional TV screen instead of live in the room, it's really not that good. And the same with comedy, as we get up and tell our jokes, that when we're in a room full of people, that everybody feeds off each other, it's great. But then you take that away and it's just okay. The best thing that I saw was a church here locally. What they did is they pre-recorded, so they were able to go through and edit and take out dead spots and stuff like that. But then they did a premiere party on Sunday morning. So Sunday morning at 10 a.m. or what, I can't remember if it was 9 or 10 a.m. They premiered this, and the whole church team was online watching it. So people could thumbs up and heart and interact along through. Yep. And they still had the ability to go through and take out all the garbage and all the mistakes that normally just gets washed over in a live thing. So that might be a thing as we're talking about this comedy stuff, or everybody who wants to go back to their own individual church and recommend that to have the opportunity to pre-record it, edit it, and then have an online party where everybody can interact is a really cool way to combine
I
those.
think that's great, and it's great to point out that sometimes it's not that great. I'm on the worship team at church, and I just last night got a thing that said our pastor would really like for us to do some Facebook Live worship tomorrow, and I looked at my wife. I was like, I don't want to do that.
Right. Well,
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, if you just looked at what you could do with church, like ours last Sunday, as soon as they got done, I just messaged my preacher, said, "Good job doing what you did with what you had to work with." And he said, I just got this other text, and it was about, we have a husband and wife that does the worship music, and it was just them there at the recording, and somebody had sent a couple of pictures of the Saturday Night Live sketch where they was like the karaoke team, the husband and wife karaoke people. And said, "Man, this is just like that," and it was hilarious just thinking about that. But yeah, making. I'm definitely going to call my preacher today. I've got a couple ideas brewing right now. Like, just how do you baptize people from 6 feet away? So it's like, just you have somebody on the edge of a pool just falling backwards and bringing themselves up with their head, doing all the work by themselves. Like, how do you approach this stuff? And you have to stay a safe distance away, and like slingshotting the bread and wine to each other. Like, there's got to be some kind of way where you acknowledge that this is different, but we still have the same focus in church. And there's a lot of visual stuff that just jumps right out.
The Uber Eats guy bringing the loaf and the bread.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is funny stuff.
Somebody getting baptized with the iPad, zooming.
Yeah. Our church,
you can use a water hose to baptize.
There you go. Yeah. Fire hose, knock people over.
I was just thinking of like this big, huge wine glass. You know what I mean, for the communion. Okay.
Or the preacher has to drink it for you, and by the end of it, he's like, "Hey." Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. I think, and I'm glad we got together this morning. I was trying to think there's got to be some more stuff we can do, and I think we came up with 15 or 20 ideas at least here to stuff we can take back and try to utilize a little bit to get some laughs and make it a little bit lighter, because it'll get to the point where it's extremely frustrating here in another month or so. And so if we don't have this stuff for ourselves to release the pressure a little bit, it'll be crazy tough. So I'll start that Facebook group this afternoon. Love to get some ideas in there and stuff we can share and use for whatever we need to for each other, and get the word out about each other. And obviously once that's opened up, if you guys have questions or other ideas or whatever, we can have a more of a closed forum of people to share some ideas with. And that'll be in itself a great tool here the next few months, just to kind of find out how we can get past all this. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys.
Really well spent.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys were able to jump on. I didn't think anybody would have a good excuse for not being here today, but you never know. Life is the same outside of comedy and stuff as it's always been. So, but that was very helpful, and thanks for supporting the podcast too. That's been great. We got some good guests coming up. I'm excited about some good episodes. So couldn't do it without the editor, and I couldn't have the editor without you guys. So appreciate all that as well. And yeah, anything you can think of, just pop it in that Facebook group, and we'll keep moving on from here.
So you'll create it and then invite us to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume I can get a hold of everybody through Messenger to invite you in there, or however it works. But I'll figure it out, and by the end of the day, we'll have it opened up.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Hey, Rick,
Yes, sir.
is that Huckabee Man on the Street thing you were talking about, is that thing going to be airing anytime soon?
They said April 3rd weekend. So yeah, next the 4th or 5th next weekend it'll be on. And I should be able to get my own clip of it to share anywhere I want. I'll put it in the Facebook group.
Oh, cool.
For sure, if you want to share it out or just get some ideas. What I originally did was a multiple choice question. I had like 15 questions about the virus, but I don't have it handy, or else I'd read you a couple. But it was just a way to help people laugh. And then once we started doing Man on the Street, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make it true or false so I can just say the punchlines and not have them sit there and try to figure out A, B, C, or D, So it's a format you could use whether you're doing something online with a company or a group or your church. And I'll post all those questions in the Facebook group as soon as I can, so you can use them if you want to right now. They're just the terms that we hear, but then a funny way to interpret the terms that we hear.
Rick, I'm picturing you doing your Barney Fife, giving people citations for their COVID-19 things.
You know
Not
what?
coughing into their sleep, all these different things.
That's a great idea. And I've been trying to think of how can I do something with Fife during all this.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
A violation.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of last night was COVID-19. I don't know what COVID-19 is. I know Code 12 and Code 13 and the penal code, but what's the code?
Give them
But I
some
like the idea of
citations.
citing people for sitting too close. So I can get out of
Yeah.
measuring tape and 6 feet and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I'll do that this week too. That's a great idea, Chester.
So Rick, what are you doing for your 20 seconds of washing your hands? What's your funny for that?
Well, I was thinking about a Barney Fife thing where he's just counting to 20 and he obviously messes up 17 and 15 or something, has to go back to the beginning. And I'm going to be here all day. I can't, But, just I was thinking about pulling some clips out and things like that. But you could do some live, like Brian's doing walking down the street. You could do a live thing anywhere where it takes 20 seconds. I don't know. We'll put
You
out
do
some
some
ideas
Zoom
and see what we
sketches
come
with
up with.
people from the group.
What's that?
You do some Zoom sketches with people from the group. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, maybe that's what we'll do too, is get one theme and have each of us do a couple seconds of a frame to put into the video.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think we got plenty of ideas, and we've got plenty of time. So if we don't execute on these ideas, we're big losers right now. We've got some time though. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys again. Thanks for everything. This was helpful today, just to kind of
Thank you.
shake it off a little bit. Thanks for Brian for jumping in too, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
I'm glad to be here.
Good to see you.
All right.
All right, see everybody.
Thanks, Rick. See y'all.
All right. See y'all.
See.